Hey everyone, welcome back to Hidden Scars, where we dive into those juicy stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimate karma that hits like a truck. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on these empowering tales. Today, we've got a real roller coaster for you, a story about a sweet, hardworking girl named Zoe who thought she had it all until her greedy ex showed his true colors. But oh boy, does karma have a way of flipping the script? Let's jump right in. My name is Zoe, and let me tell you, life wasn't always this glamorous for me. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, in a modest little house with my mom and grandma. We weren't rich by any means. Mom worked 2 jobs as a nurse, and grandma baked pies for the local diner to make ends meet. But we were happy, you know? The kind of happy that comes from love and laughter around the dinner table, not fancy cars or designer clothes. I was the good girl, always helping out, always putting others first. In high school, I volunteered at the animal shelter, and after graduating, I moved to Chicago for a fresh start, landing a job as an administrative assistant at a mid-sized marketing firm. The pay was okay, enough to cover rent on my cozy one-bedroom apartment and maybe splurge on a coffee date now and then. But I dreamed big, not for myself, but for the people I loved. That's how I met Alex. It was one of those cliché moments, bumping into him at a crowded coffee shop downtown. I spilled my latte all over his shirt, and instead of getting mad, he just laughed it off with this charming smile. "No worries, beautiful," he said, his eyes twinkling. "Accidents happen, especially to clumsy angels like you." I blushed like crazy, apologized a million times, and offered to buy him a new coffee. We ended up talking for hours that day. Alex was 28, a bit older than my 24, and he had this fire in him, dreams of starting his own tech startup. He was working as a freelance app developer, scraping by on gigs, but he had big ideas. "One day, Zoe, I'm gonna build an empire," he'd say, his voice full of passion. And me? I believed in him. From the start, I was his biggest cheerleader. Our relationship blossomed fast. Within months, we were inseparable. Alex moved into my apartment because his place was a dump, and honestly, I loved having him around. I'd come home from work exhausted, and he'd have dinner ready. Nothing fancy, just pasta or sandwiches, but it felt like home. I supported him in every way I could. When he needed money for a new laptop to code his app prototypes, I dipped into my savings without a second thought. "Babe, you're my rock," he'd whisper in bed at night, holding me close. "I don't know what I'd do without you." And my heart would melt. I pictured our future, a little house, maybe kids someday, building that life together. Alex wasn't from money either. He grew up in a similar blue-collar family, so we connected on that level. Or, at least, that's what I thought. But looking back, there were tiny signs I ignored. Alex loved the finer things. He'd scroll through Instagram, liking posts about luxury cars and penthouses. "One day we'll have all this," he'd say dreamily. I'd laugh it off, thinking it was just motivation. I mean, who doesn't dream big? I was content with our simple life, weekend picnics in the park, binge-watching Netflix on my old couch. But Alex? He started networking more, attending these fancy tech meetups I couldn't afford to join. "It's for us, Zoe," he'd assure me, kissing my forehead. "When I make it, you'll never have to worry about money again." Little did I know, those meetups were about to change everything. One evening, Alex came home buzzing with excitement. "I met this amazing investor tonight," he gushed, pacing the living room. "Her name's Emily. She's the daughter of a big-shot venture capitalist. She thinks my app idea has potential." I was thrilled for him. "That's incredible, Alex. Tell me all about it." We stayed up late talking, and I felt so proud. Emily sounded impressive. Smart, connected, everything Alex needed to launch his dreams. I encouraged him to follow up, even helped him polish his pitch deck on my work computer. "You're gonna kill it," I said, hugging him tight. As weeks turned into months, Alex spent more time with Emily and her circle. Business dinners, late-night strategy sessions, it all seemed legit. I'd pack him lunches, remind him to eat, and wait up for him. My friends noticed I was giving so much. "Zoe, make sure he's pulling his weight too. my bestie Sarah warned over coffee one day, but I brushed it off. He's chasing his dream, Sarah. That's what love is, supporting each other. Inside, though, a tiny seed of doubt sprouted. Alex was distant sometimes, checking his phone obsessively. But I trusted him. After all, we were a team. Then came the day that shattered my world. It was our 2-year anniversary. I'd planned a surprise. Candles, homemade dinner, even splurged on a bottle of wine. But Alex texted late. "Stuck at a meeting with Emily. Rain check?" My heart sank, but I waited. Hours passed. Finally, at midnight, he stumbled in, smelling of expensive perfume. "Babe, I'm sorry," he mumbled, avoiding my eyes. "Things got intense." I tried to play it cool. "Intense how?" He sighed, sitting me down. "Zoe, we need to talk." And just like that, the fairy tale cracked. "Emily and we've grown close," he confessed, his voice cold. "She's offering me everything. Funding, connections, and honestly, Zoe, our life here, it's holding me back." I felt like I'd been punched. "What? Alex, we've built this together!" Tears streamed down my face. He looked at me with pity. "Come on, Zoe. You with your dead-end job in this crappy apartment? Emily's world is yachts and private jets. I deserve more." His words cut like knives. "You deserve more? After everything I've done for you?" He shrugged. "Yeah, I do. We're done." That night, I cried myself to sleep on the couch, the anniversary dinner cold on the table. The betrayal hit hard. Not just the cheating, but the way he dismissed me like trash. On social media, he posted pictures with Emily the next day, captioning, "Upgrading to the life I always wanted. #blessed. #new beginnings." Comments flooded in, some from our mutual friends. "Congrats, man, she looks loaded." I felt humiliated, exposed. My world crumbled, and the pain was just beginning. The weeks after Alex dropped that bomb on me felt like living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I kept replaying his words in my head on an endless loop. I deserve more. This crappy apartment. Emily's world is yachts and private jets. Every time it hurt just as much as the first. I barely slept, barely ate. I'd sit on the couch staring at the cold anniversary dinner I'd made for him. Candles burned down to stubs, pasta congealed on the plates, and wonder how I'd been so blind. The next morning, Alex came back to pack his stuff while I was at work. He left a note on the kitchen counter. "Thanks for everything, Zoe. No hard feelings. Take care." No hard feelings? Seriously? I came home to half-empty closets, his gaming console gone, even the coffee mug I'd bought him for Christmas missing. It felt like he'd erased himself from my life in one clean sweep. And the worst part? He'd already changed his relationship status on Facebook to "in a relationship with Emily Harrington," and posted a photo of them at some rooftop bar, her arm around his waist, both of them glowing under fairy lights. The caption read, "New chapter, new energy. Grateful for the upgrade." The comments poured in fast. People we both knew, coworkers, old college friends, even some of my cousins, liked it, heart-reacted it, wrote things like, "You two look perfect together," and "Finally living your best life, bro." One girl I'd considered a friend commented, "She's stunning, total power couple." I scrolled through them in the dark, tears dripping onto my phone screen, feeling smaller with every notification. Then came the direct messages. A guy from Alex's old job wrote, "Damn, Zoe, guess you weren't enough after all, huh?" Another so-called friend sent a laughing emoji with, "From thrift store dates to private jets, Alex really leveled up." I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just the breakup, it was the public humiliation. Everyone was watching him parade his new life, while I was left looking like the pathetic ex who got traded in for a shinier model. I stopped answering texts. I called in sick to work for 3 days straight, claiming the flu. My boss was understanding at first, but by day 4 she left a voicemail. "Zoe, we need you back. Deadlines are piling up." I dragged myself in, eyes puffy, forcing smiles that felt like cracked glass. At the office, the gossip spread like wildfire. People whispered when I walked past the break room. One coworker, Jenna, who'd always been friendly, pulled me aside. "Hey girl, I saw Alex's posts. Are you okay?" Her pity made it worse. I mumbled something about being fine and locked myself in a bathroom stall to cry. That same afternoon, HR called me in. My performance had slipped, missed emails, late reports, and they put me on a performance improvement plan. "We love having you here, Zoe, but we need to see improvement immediately," they said gently. Translation: shape up or ship out. I went home that night and collapsed on the floor of my empty apartment. The silence was deafening without Alex's music or his late-night typing. I kept thinking, how could he throw away 2 years like this? Was I really that disposable? My savings were drained from all the money I'd given him for his business expenses. New software, networking events, even a suit for investor meetings. And now he was living the high life on Emily's dime, while I was 1 bad month away from missing rent. Then came the real gut punch. About a month after the breakup, Alex and Emily got engaged. Yes, engaged. They'd known each other less than 4 months. He posted a photo of her massive diamond ring, easily 10 carats, sparkling under professional lighting, with the caption, "She said yes, couldn't be happier with my future wife." The likes exploded into the thousands. Emily's wealthy friends flooded the comments. "Welcome to the family, Alex. You two are goals. Finally, someone who matches our vibe." I sat there staring at the screen, feeling physically sick. My best friend Sarah called me that night. "Zoe, you need to block him. This is torture." But I couldn't. I kept hate scrolling, punishing myself with every perfect photo. There was one of them on a private jet, champagne flutes in hand, Emily in designer sunglasses, Alex grinning like he'd won the lottery. Another from a gala where she wore a gown that probably cost more than my annual salary. And the comments kept coming, people tagging me by mistake, or worse, on purpose. One girl wrote, "Remember Zoe? Yeah, me neither." It got over 100 likes. I finally broke down and texted Alex one night after too many glasses of cheap wine. "How could you do this to me, after everything I gave you?" He replied almost immediately, "Zoe, let it go. You're embarrassing yourself. Emily saw the text, by the way. She thinks it's pathetic." Pathetic. That word burned into my brain. I threw my phone across the room and sobbed until my ribs hurt. The humiliation didn't stop online. At a mutual friend's birthday party I stupidly attended, trying to prove I was fine, people avoided me like I had the plague. One guy, drunk and loud, said in front of everyone, "Yo, Alex really traded up, huh? From dollar store to Dior." Laughter rippled through the group. I excused myself, drove home crying, and didn't leave my apartment for the entire weekend. I lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. My clothes hung off me. I stopped wearing makeup, stopped caring. My mom called from Ohio, worried sick. "Baby, come home for a bit," she begged. But I couldn't face going back a failure. I'd left that small town to make something of myself, and now I was worse off than when I started. If you've ever been publicly dumped and humiliated like this, drop a comment below and tell me how you survived it. I read every single one, and honestly, your stories kept me going during those dark months. And hey, if this is hitting close to home, smash that like button. It really helps the channel reach more people who need to hear that they're not alone. I thought that was rock bottom. I thought nothing could hurt worse than watching the man I loved build a fairy tale with someone else while calling me crappy and embarrassing. But trust me, the universe had a wild sense of humor in store. Because just when I thought I'd lost everything, life handed me the keys, literally, to the sweetest revenge I could have never imagined. Rock bottom has a way of sneaking up on you, doesn't it? One day you're planning anniversaries, and the next you're sitting in your dark apartment eating cereal straight from the box because washing a bowl feels like too much effort. That was me for months after Alex's engagement announcement. I'd lost 15 pounds. My work wardrobe hung off me like I was playing dress-up in someone else's clothes, and my reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger. Hollow eyes, pale skin, permanent tear stains. I finally got fired. Not dramatically, just a quiet meeting in HR where they handed me a severance check and said, "We wish you the best, Zoe." 2 weeks' pay and a cardboard box for my desk plant. I walked out of the building in a daze, clutching that stupid succulent like it was the last living thing that cared about me. The commute home on the L train felt endless. Everyone around me was laughing, scrolling on their phones, living normal lives, while I was officially unemployed, single, and drowning in debt. Rent was due in 10 days, and after paying off the credit card I'd maxed out helping Alex with his startup costs, I had exactly $312 in my checking account. I started applying for jobs like a madwoman, entry-level admin roles, coffee shops, anything that would keep a roof over my head. Rejection emails piled up faster than I could send resumes. "We've decided to move forward with another candidate. Thank you for your interest, but..." Each one felt like another slap. My mom kept calling, begging me to come home to Ohio. "You can stay in your old room, honey. We'll figure it out together." But the idea of going back defeated felt worse than staying and fighting. I couldn't face the small-town pity. Poor Zoe came to the big city and got her heart broken. So I stayed, surviving on ramen and the occasional care package Mom mailed, canned soup, homemade cookies, little notes that said, "You are stronger than you know." Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake listening to the couple next door argue or laugh or, and I'd wonder if I'd ever feel normal again. I blocked Alex on everything, but somehow his posts still found me through mutual friends or suggested content. There they were, Alex and Emily on vacation in the Maldives, Emily in a tiny bikini on a yacht, Alex kissing her cheek with the caption, "Living the dream with my queen." Another post from a charity gala, Emily in a floor-length red gown, Alex in a custom tux, rubbing elbows with Chicago's elite. The comments were brutal. One woman wrote, "He really upgraded from that frumpy ex, didn't he?" Someone replied with laughing emojis, "Night and day difference." I started having panic attacks. The first one hit me in the grocery store when I realized I couldn't afford the brand of yogurt I used to buy. My chest tightened, vision blurred, and I had to sit on the floor in the dairy aisle until it passed. The cashier looked at me like I was crazy. Maybe I was. One particularly bad night, after seeing yet another engagement party photo, they'd hired a planner, ice sculptures, the works. I drunk texted my old friend Sarah. Why wasn't I enough? She called me immediately. "Zoe, stop torturing yourself. He's a gold-digging leech. You're worth 1,000 of him." But even her words couldn't drown out Alex's voice in my head. "You're embarrassing yourself. Pathetic." I hit my absolute lowest the day their wedding invitation leaked online. Yes, leaked. Some friend posted a photo of the fancy embossed card. Black tie, venue at the Drake Hotel, one of the most expensive spots in Chicago. The date was set for 6 months after their engagement, less than a year from the day he left me. I stared at that invitation and felt something inside me break completely. I didn't cry anymore. I just felt numb. I stopped leaving the apartment except for job interviews. My landlord started leaving late rent notices under the door. I sold my TV, my laptop, kept an old one for job hunting, even some jewelry my grandma had given me. Anything to buy time. I was one missed rent payment away from eviction. Then, out of nowhere, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. The man on the other end had a kind, older voice. "Miss Zoe Carter? This is Mr. Ellison from Ellison & Associates, a law firm here in Chicago. I'm calling regarding the estate of your late grandmother, Evelyn Carter." My heart skipped. Grandma had passed 2 years earlier, and we'd grieved, buried her, and that was that. There'd been no money left, just a little house in Ohio that Mom still lived in. "I'm sorry, there must be some mistake," I said, my voice hoarse from disuse. "My grandmother didn't have an estate." Mr. Ellison paused. "Actually, Miss Carter, she did. Quite a substantial one. Your grandmother owned a significant portfolio of rental properties here in Chicago, under a trust. She instructed us not to notify you until certain conditions were met. Conditions that have now been fulfilled since her passing." I sat down hard on the floor, phone pressed to my ear. What are you saying?" "I'm saying, Zoe, that you are the sole beneficiary of assets valued at approximately $12 million, primarily in commercial and residential real estate across the city. We need you to come in to sign some papers." I laughed. I actually laughed out loud, a crazy, hysterical sound. "This is a prank, right? Did Sarah put you up to this?" "No prank, Miss Carter. I assure you this is very real. Can you come to our office tomorrow morning?" I hung up the phone and stared at the wall for a full hour. $12 million. Rental properties. My sweet grandma, who baked apple pies and knitted scarves, had secretly been a real estate mogul? It didn't make sense. But the next morning, still in shock, I put on the only clean outfit I had left, a wrinkled blazer and jeans, and took the train downtown to the fancy law office. Mr. Ellison was real. The conference room was real. The stack of documents showing property deeds, trust agreements, and bank statements, all in my name, was real. Grandma had bought buildings back in the 70s and 80s, when prices were low, paid them off over decades, and never told a soul. She'd lived simply so no one would know. The trust stipulated that the inheritance would only pass to me after both she and my mother were gone, or on my 28th birthday if she passed earlier. I was turning 28 in 2 months. The timing was almost too perfect. I signed where they told me to sign, hands shaking. When they handed me the master list of properties, 23 buildings, from luxury downtown high-rises to charming brownstones in Lincoln Park, my breath caught. And that's when I saw it. One address jumped out like it was written in neon lights. The Penthouse at 1200 North Lakeshore Drive. The exact building Alex and Emily had been posting from for months. The one with the rooftop pool parties, the floor-to-ceiling lake views, the doorman in white gloves. I was their landlord. I swear, in that moment, I heard the universe laugh right along with me. Because, folks, the revenge I'd been dreaming about in my darkest hours, it was about to right itself. I walked out of the law firm that afternoon in a total fog. The Chicago wind whipped around me, but I barely felt it. $12 million, 23 buildings, and one of them, the crown jewel, the ultra-luxury high-rise on Lakeshore Drive, was currently home to my ex-boyfriend and his shiny new fiancée. I stood on the sidewalk, clutching the thick folder Mr. Ellison had given me, staring at the list of properties like it was written in another language. It was real. All of it was real. The first thing I did was call my mom. She picked up on the second ring. "Zoe? Honey, are you okay?" She'd been calling every day since the breakup, worried sick. "Mom," I said, my voice cracking, "Grandma left me. Everything." I told her the whole story, the trust, the buildings, the value. There was silence on the line for a long moment, then she started crying, happy tears this time. "Your grandma always said you were special," she whispered. "She wanted you to have security, baby. She saw how hard you worked, how big your heart was." We talked for an hour. For the first time in months, I felt something other than pain. Hope. Mr. Ellison had connected me with a property management company Grandma had used for years. They handled rent collection, maintenance, tenant issues, everything. The manager, a no-nonsense woman named Carla, met me the next day for coffee. "Your grandmother was sharp as a tack," Carla said, sliding a tablet across the table. "Paid everything in cash decades ago. Never raised rent much because she liked stable tenants. You've got a gold mine here, Zoe." She showed me the monthly income statements, My jaw dropped. Even after management fees, taxes, and upkeep, the portfolio generated over $80,000 a month. A month! I almost laughed out loud. I'd been stressing over a $1,200 rent payment while sitting on a fortune. But the real kicker? The penthouse at 1200 North Lakeshore Drive. Carla pulled up the lease agreement. Top floor unit, 5,000 square feet, private elevator, rooftop terrace. Current tenants, Alexander Reed and Emily Harrington. Moved in 8 months ago. Rent is $18,500 a month. $18,500. Every single month. Paid directly into an account that now belonged to me. I stared at the screen, a slow grin spreading across my face. You have got to be kidding me. Carla raised an eyebrow. Problem with these tenants? I shook my head, trying to play it cool. No problem, just surprised. Inside, my heart was doing cartwheels. All those Instagram photos of their dream life, the marble kitchen, the infinity bathtub with lake views, the parties on the rooftop deck, were happening in my apartment. They'd been paying me to live like royalty while calling me poor and pathetic. Oh, the irony was delicious. I spent the next few weeks in a whirlwind. First, I paid off every cent of debt. Credit cards, student loans, even the small loan I'd taken for Alex's laptop. Gone. Then I gave notice on my old apartment and moved into one of Grandma's vacant units. A cute 2-bedroom in Lincoln Park with hardwood floors and a little balcony. Nothing crazy, but a massive upgrade. I bought new clothes that actually fit, got a haircut, started eating real meals again. The mirror started showing me someone I recognized, cheeks filling out, eyes brighter. I hired a financial advisor, an accountant, and took a crash course in real estate investing. Turns out Grandma's portfolio was conservative. There was room to grow. I began planning renovations on a few buildings to increase value and rent. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was building. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about Alex and Emily every single day. Not with heartbreak anymore, with curiosity. And maybe a tiny spark of something else. Revenge? Not yet. I wasn't ready to pull any triggers. I just watched from a distance as their wedding planning went into overdrive. Emily posted daily stories, cake tastings, dress fittings, venue walkthroughs at the Drake. Alex looked thrilled in every photo, always flashing that same charming smile he'd used on me. They were spending money like it was endless. Private jets to Miami for the bachelor weekend, designer tuxes, a honeymoon booked in Bora Bora. One night, wine in hand, I did something I swore I wouldn't. Unblocked Alex on a burner Instagram account just to peek. That's when I noticed something off. In recent photos, Emily looked tense. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Alex was tagged in a few stories at bars without her, surrounded by the same group of flashy new friends. There were flirty comments from women I didn't recognize. One photo showed him with his arm around a brunette at a club, her hand on his chest. The caption, "Good times with good people." Emily hadn't liked it. A little voice in my head whispered, "Trouble in paradise already?" I didn't act on it. Not yet. I was too busy rebuilding myself. I joined a gym, started therapy, finally, made new friends who didn't know the old broken Zoe. I even went on a couple of dates. Nothing serious, just reminding myself that decent men existed. I felt stronger every day, empowered. Like the old Zoe had died in that heartbreak, and someone new was rising from the ashes. Then one afternoon, Carla called. "Zoe, we've got a maintenance request from the penthouse. The heated floors in the master bath aren't working. They want someone out ASAP. Say it's urgent for their upcoming housewarming party or something." I smirked. "Tell them we'll schedule it for next week." Carla paused. "They've never complained before, usually very low maintenance." I laughed softly. "Don't worry, they'll survive a few days without heated floors." Hanging up, I opened the lease agreement again. There was a clause about rent adjustments after major renovations. And guess what? The building was due for a full lobby and amenity upgrade. New concierge desk, gym equipment, rooftop lounge, all approved by me, which meant rent could legally increase significantly. I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the lake from my new balcony. For the first time since the breakup, I felt in control. They thought they'd left me behind in the dust. They thought they'd won. But the game had just started, and I was holding all the cards. If you're loving this slow burn glow up and can't wait to see how Zoe turns the tables, drop a revenge loading in the comments and share this video with a friend who needs some karma inspiration. We're just getting to the good part. The first few months of being a secret multi-millionaire felt like living in a parallel universe. By day, I was still Zoe, the girl who clipped coupons and apologized for taking up space. By night, I was poring over spreadsheets, approving six-figure renovation budgets, and signing documents that moved more money than I used to make in a year. It was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. I kept waiting for someone to knock on my door and say, "Sorry, huge mistake, give it all back." But no one did. The money kept coming in. The buildings kept appreciating. And slowly, very slowly, I started to believe that this was really mine. I didn't go crazy spending, not at first. I bought a reliable used car, replaced my ancient phone, and treated Mom to a week-long vacation in Florida, her first real trip ever. The rest went into investments, upgrades on the properties, and a growing emergency fund that made me sleep better than any sleeping pill ever could. I took real estate classes online, joined a women's investor network, and started dressing like someone who belonged in boardrooms. Tailored blazers, silk blouses, heels that didn't come from Target. I got highlights for the first time in my life. Nothing extreme, just enough that when I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman who looked expensive, confident, untouchable. The glow-up wasn't just external. Therapy helped me unpack the damage Alex had done. I learned that supporting someone doesn't mean emptying yourself for them. That love shouldn't feel like auditioning for worthiness. That being good and nice doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. I started saying no without guilt. I stopped apologizing for existing. And every time I signed a check or approved a lease renewal, I felt a little more like the version of myself I was always meant to be. Meanwhile, Alex and Emily's fairy tale was showing tiny cracks, if you knew where to look. I didn't stalk them obsessively anymore. Okay, maybe a little. But their social media was public, and mutual acquaintances loved to gossip. Emily's posts were still polished perfection. Sponsored flower arrangements for the wedding, menu tastings with celebrity chefs, a bridal shower on a chartered yacht. But Alex's solo stories were different. Late nights at clubs, photos with bottles of Ace of Spades, and women in barely there dresses laughing in his lap. One video showed him dancing with a redhead, while the caption read, "Living my best life." Emily wasn't tagged. She didn't like it. I started noticing patterns. Emily's family money was funding everything. The penthouse rent, the wedding, the trips. Alex hadn't launched his app yet. In fact, there was no mention of work at all anymore. Just parties, cars he didn't own, watches that were clearly gifts. He'd gone from aspiring entrepreneur to full-time trophy fiancé. And from the comments on his posts, some of Emily's friends weren't thrilled. One wrote, "Does this guy ever work?" Another, "Careful, Em, gold diggers are real." I could have ignored it. I could have stayed in my lane, built my empire quietly, and let them self-destruct on their own. But then Carla called again. "Hey Zoe, the tenants in the penthouse are requesting an extension on this month's rent. Said something about waiting on a wire transfer. They've never been late before." I leaned back in my chair, a slow smile spreading. "Really? How late are we talking?" 5 days so far. I reminded them of the late fee clause, 5% after the third. They weren't happy. I pulled up their lease on my laptop. Sure enough, there it was in black and white. And right below it, the renovation clause I'd been eyeing. The building upgrade was set to begin in 2 months. New elevators, state-of-the-art gym, complete rooftop redesign. Market rates for comparable units had skyrocketed since they'd signed. A fair increase would push their rent from $18,500 to just over $25,000 a month. Completely legal. Standard for luxury properties after major capital improvements. Carla, I said calmly, send them the standard notice. The building is undergoing extensive renovations starting soon. Rent will be adjusted accordingly, effective the 1st of next month. There was a pause. That's a pretty big jump. You sure? Positive. And if they have questions, they can contact the owner directly. I gave her my new business email, the one with my full name on it. 2 days later, I got the email I'd been waiting for. Subject: Concern about rent increase. 1200 North Lakeshore Drive, Penthouse. Dear Property Management, my fiancé and I received the notice about the upcoming rent adjustment and were quite shocked. A 35% increase feels excessive, especially since we've been exemplary tenants. We're happy to discuss reasonable options, perhaps a phased increase or a longer lease term, in exchange for keeping the rate closer to current. We love this unit and plan to stay long-term after our marriage. Looking forward to a positive resolution. Best regards, Emily Harrington. I read it 3 times, savoring every word. Exemplary tenants. Love this unit. Long-term. I waited a full day before replying. Professionally, of course. Dear Ms. Harrington, thank you for your email. The upcoming renovations represent a significant investment in the property and will bring the amenities in line with current luxury market standards. The adjusted rate reflects fair market value for a renovated penthouse of this caliber. Unfortunately, we are unable to offer phased increases or discounts at this time, as the policy applies uniformly to all units. Should you choose not to renew under the new terms, we require 60 days' notice per the lease agreement. Best, Zoe Carter, owner, Carter Properties, LLC. I hit send and then sat back, heart racing. This was the first direct contact. She didn't know yet that the owner was me, but she would soon. The reply came within minutes. Subject: concern about rent increase. Ms. Carter, with all due respect, this increase will add over $78,000 to our annual housing cost. That's unsustainable for us right now. We've invested significantly in making this unit our home, and we're under the impression we had a stable, long-term arrangement. Is there any flexibility at all? Perhaps we could meet in person to discuss. Thank you, Emily. I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered Alex's words. This crappy apartment. I deserve more. You're embarrassing yourself. I typed back. Ms. Harrington, I'm afraid the decision is final. However, I'm happy to meet if you'd like. I'll be in the building next week for an inspection. We can speak then. Regards, Zoe Carter. I didn't sleep much that night. Part excitement, part nerves. This was the moment the mask would come off. Emily would realize who owned her dream home. And Alex. Oh, Alex would finally see what upgrading really cost him. If you're screaming at your screen right now, wanting to know what happens when Zoe walks into that penthouse and comes face to face with her ex, drop a fire emoji in the comments and let me know you're still here for this showdown. Because trust me, the next part is where everything explodes in the most satisfying way possible. The day of the building inspection arrived faster than I expected. I'd marked it on my calendar in red ink weeks ago, counting down like a kid waiting for Christmas. Except this gift was wrapped in sweet, delicious karma. I spent the morning getting ready, with more care than I'd ever put into a date. Fitted black trousers, a cream silk blouse that cost more than my old monthly rent, understated gold jewelry, and heels that made me feel 6 feet tall. Hair blown out, makeup subtle but polished. I looked like the kind of woman who owned penthouses. Because, well, I did. Carla met me in the lobby of 1200 North Lakeshore Drive at 10 a.m. sharp. The place was even more stunning in person. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, a concierge who greeted me by name now that the staff knew who I was. "Good morning, Miss Carter," he said with a respectful nod. I smiled back, trying not to skip like a giddy teenager. We started on the lower floors, going over renovation plans with the contractors. New lighting, upgraded security system, plans for a private residence lounge. Everything was on schedule. But I'll be honest, my mind wasn't on flooring samples or paint swatches. It was on the private elevator that went straight to the top floor. At 11:30, Carla glanced at her watch. "The penthouse tenants confirm they'll both be home at noon for the walkthrough. Ready?" My stomach did a little flip, but I nodded. "Let's do this." We rode the regular elevator to the penthouse level, then switched to the private one that opened directly into their foyer. The doors slid open with a soft ding, and there they were, Alex and Emily, waiting in what used to be my property's grand entrance hall. Emily was in designer yoga gear, hair in a perfect high ponytail, looking every bit the wealthy heiress. Alex stood beside her in a crisp button-down and tailored pants, flashing that same charming smile that once made my heart race. Then they saw me. Emily's brows furrowed in polite confusion. "Miss Carter? Hi, I'm Emily Harrington. We emailed." Alex went completely still. His face drained of color so fast I thought he might faint. "Zoe?" he whispered, like he'd seen a ghost. I stepped out of the elevator calmly, extending my hand to Emily. "Pleasure to meet you in person, Miss Harrington. And Alex, it's been a while." Emily looked back and forth between us, sensing the tension. "You two know each other?" Alex recovered first, forcing a laugh that sounded strangled. "Yeah, Zoe and I dated a couple years ago. Small world, right?" He tried to play it cool, but his eyes were panicked, darting to me like I was a bomb about to go off. Emily's smile faltered. "Oh, I see." The air in the foyer got thick real fast. I kept my voice professional and warm. "I'm here to do a quick walkthrough before renovations begin. Make sure everything's in order and discuss the upcoming changes." I gestured around the space, the soaring ceilings, the panoramic lake views, the custom kitchen I now technically owned. "This unit is gorgeous. You've decorated beautifully." Emily relaxed a fraction, always happy to accept a compliment. "Thank you. We love it here. That's why the rent increase caught us off guard." Alex hadn't taken his eyes off me. I could feel him cataloging the changes, the new clothes, the confident posture, the way I carried myself like I belonged. "Zoe, how did what are you doing here exactly?" I turned to him with a sweet smile. "I own the building, Alex. Actually, I own 23 buildings in Chicago, this one included." I let that sink in for a beat. "Grandma left them to me." Emily's mouth actually fell open a little. "Your grandmother owned this property?" "And the whole portfolio, yes. It was held in a trust until recently." I pulled out my tablet, flipping to the renovation renderings like this was just another business meeting. "Shall we start the tour?" We walked through the 5,000-square-foot penthouse, while I pointed out upcoming upgrades. New smart home integration, redesigned rooftop terrace, expanded gym downstairs. Emily asked smart questions about timelines and noise levels. Alex trailed behind us silently, looking like he'd swallowed a lemon. In the master bedroom, scene of who knows how many of their Instagram couple shots, I paused by the massive windows. "The heated floors in the ensuite should be fixed by tomorrow," I said casually. I approved the emergency repair. Emily brightened. "Oh, thank you. We have my bridal shower here next weekend." Alex finally found his voice. "Zoe, can we talk? Privately?" Emily shot him a sharp look. "Alex, we're in the middle of—" "It'll just take a minute," he insisted, already steering me toward the study. I followed, hiding my amusement. The second the door closed, The fake charm dropped. "What the hell is going on?" he hissed, keeping his voice low. "How do you own this place? You were broke when we—" I raised an eyebrow. "Careful, Alex. Your fiancé might hear you." He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "This is insane. You can't just raise the rent like this. We can't afford 25 grand a month." "That's interesting," I said coolly, "considering how often you posted about living the dream here. Private jets, designer clothes, bottle service, all on Emily's tab, I assume?" His jaw clenched. "That's none of your business." "It kind of is, actually, since I'm your landlord." I leaned against the desk, crossing my arms. "You told me I was holding you back, that my crappy apartment wasn't good enough, that you deserved more. Well, congratulations, you got it. And now you get to pay for it. Literally." He stepped closer, voice dropping to a plea. "Come on, Zoe. We have history. You can't do this to me." I laughed softly, genuinely amused. "Oh, Alex, you did this to yourself the moment you decided I was disposable. You wanted the high life? Enjoy the high rent." His face twisted. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Getting revenge because I left?" "This isn't revenge," I lied smoothly. "It's business. The market rate adjusted. Happens all the time in luxury real estate." He stared at me like he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. Good, because I wasn't the same Zoe anymore. We rejoined Emily in the living room. She was scrolling her phone but looked up with a tight smile. "Everything okay?" "Perfect," I said brightly. "I'll have Carla send over the finalized amendment. You have until the end of the month to sign the new lease or provide notice." Emily nodded slowly, clearly sensing the undercurrent but not understanding it. Alex just stood there, defeated. As I stepped back into the private elevator, I turned to them one last time. "Enjoy the view while it lasts. It really is spectacular." The doors closed on their stunned faces, and I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from pure electric power. I rode down 38 floors feeling lighter than I had in years. The heartbroken girl who'd cried over cold anniversary pasta was gone. In her place was a woman who'd just looked her ex in the eye and taken back every ounce of dignity he'd tried to steal. But here's the thing. I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Because while that confrontation felt amazing, the real storm was still coming. And when it hit, it was going to drown them both. After that penthouse showdown, I floated through the rest of the day on a high I didn't even know was possible. Carla kept glancing at me in the car on the way back to the office, finally asking, "Everything okay up there? You've got this look like you just won the lottery twice." I laughed, actually laughed out loud, and told her the short version. "Let's just say the tenants and I go way back." She didn't press, but the smirk on her face said she knew drama when she smelled it. For the next week, I waited. I knew the new lease amendment had been delivered. I knew they had until the last day of the month to sign or give notice. Every morning I checked my email like a teenager waiting for a text. Nothing. Radio silence. Then, 10 days before the deadline, my phone rang with an unsaved Chicago number. I answered professionally. "Zoe Carter speaking." "Zoe, it's Emily." Her voice was tight, controlled, the way rich girls talk when they're trying not to sound desperate. "Do you have a minute?" I leaned back in my office chair. Yes, I had a real office now, with a view of the river, and smiled. "Of course. How can I help you, Emily?" She cleared her throat. "Alex and I have been talking about the rent increase. We love the penthouse. It's perfect for us, especially with the wedding coming up. We're willing to sign the new lease, but we were hoping you might consider a small concession. Maybe cap the increase at 15% instead of 35%, as a professional courtesy?" I let the silence stretch just long enough to make her uncomfortable. "I appreciate you reaching out directly, Emily, but the rate is based on post-renovation market comps. It's non-negotiable across the board. No exceptions." She hesitated. I understand. It's just, this is a significant jump for us right now. Wedding expenses are adding up and… I cut in gently. I'm sure you'll manage. You've both worked very hard to build the life you have. Another pause. Then, quieter. Alex mentioned you two have history. I didn't realize it was… serious. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. She sounded genuinely thrown, like she was only now piecing together why her fiancé had looked like he'd seen a ghost. It was serious to me, I said evenly. But that's ancient history. This is strictly business. She sighed. Right. Well, thank you for your time. The call ended, and I stared at my phone, heart pounding. That was the first time I'd spoken to the woman who'd upgraded my life away. She hadn't been rude. If anything, she sounded stressed. A tiny part of me wondered if Alex had painted me as the villain to her, too. But I pushed the thought away. This wasn't about pity. This was about balance. 2 days later, Carla forwarded me an email from Alex. Subject line, urgent, penthouse lease discussion. Zoe, I think we got off on the wrong foot the other day. Emotions were high. I know you're upset about how things ended between us, and I get it. I wasn't fair to you. But raising the rent like this, it feels personal. We're happy to pay a reasonable increase, but $25,000 a month is insane. Please, can we meet one-on-one? No Emily, just us. I'll buy you coffee, dinner, whatever. Let's talk this out like adults, for old time's sake. Alex. I read it twice, then a third time. The nerve! For old time's sake. As if he hadn't called me pathetic and embarrassing. As if he hadn't posted that upgrade photo for the world to see. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I opened Instagram on my private account and scrolled through his recent stories. That's when I saw it. A video from 2 nights ago. Alex at a rooftop club downtown. Bottle service table covered in sparklers. His arm around a stunning brunette in a silver dress. She was laughing, leaning into him, her hand on his thigh. The song caption, no stress, just success. Then another story, an obvious hotel suite, champagne on ice, the brunette's manicured hand holding a glass toward the camera. No Emily in sight. I screenshot everything, dated, timed, saved. The next day, I hired a private investigator. Not some shady trenchcoat guy, a professional firm recommended by my financial advisor. Discreet, expensive, and very good at their job. I gave them Alex's name, the club details, and a simple instruction. Document any extracurricular activities. Results came back faster than expected. Over the past 4 months, Alex had been seen with at least 3 different women, late-night bar exits, hotel check-ins. One even caught leaving the Penthouse building at 6 a.m., while Emily was out of town visiting her parents. Credit card records, obtained legally through public sources and skips, showed charges at lingerie boutiques, jewelry stores, and romantic restaurants. All on dates Emily was tagged elsewhere. Jackpot. I sat on the evidence for a week, letting it simmer. Meanwhile, the lease deadline came and went. No signed amendment, no notice to vacate. Carla called. They're officially month-to-month now. Rent's due in 5 days at the new rate. If they don't pay in full, we start late fees, then eviction proceedings. Send the invoice, I said calmly. Certified mail and email. The invoice went out. $25,000 due immediately, plus a polite reminder of the 5% late fee accruing daily. 3 days later, Alex showed up at my office unannounced. My assistant buzzed me. There's a Mr. Alexander Reed here to see you. Says it's urgent and personal. I took a deep breath, smoothed my blouse, and said, Send him in. He walked in looking rough, hair unstyled, eyes bloodshot, wearing the same expensive watch I'm pretty sure Emily had bought him. The confident guy from the Penthouse was gone. This version looked desperate. Zoe, he started, voice low. Please, we need to talk. I didn't stand to greet him, just gestured to the chair across from my desk. You have 5 minutes. He sat, leaning forward, elbows on knees. We can't pay the new rent. Not right now. Emily's dad tightened the purse strings. Something about wedding costs being out of control. If you evict us, we're screwed. The wedding's in 2 months. Invitations are out. We'll be humiliated. I tilted my head. That's unfortunate. He flinched. Come on, you're better than this. I know I hurt you, but punishing us like this. Punishing? I interrupted, voice ice cold. Alex, I haven't done anything yet. I raised the rent to market rate. You chose not to sign the lease. That's on you. He rubbed his face. I'll leave Emily if that's what you want. I'll tell her it's over, just give us time. Lower the rent back, please. I stared at him, stunned at how low he'd sunk. You think I want you back? After everything? No, He backtracked fast. I just mean I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. I pulled a folder from my drawer, the PI report, photos printed in glossy color. I slid it across the desk. He opened it. His face went ashen. Where did you? Doesn't matter, I said. What matters is Emily doesn't know yet, but she will. Soon. He looked up, eyes wide with panic. Zoe, don't. Please don't tell her. I stood, signaling the meeting was over. Pay the rent or move out. And Alex? Next time you decide someone's crappy and embarrassing, remember, karma has a longer memory than you think. He left without another word, head down. That night I poured myself a glass of wine and stared out at the city lights. The revenge was unfolding perfectly. But the final move? That was going to be the sweetest of all. If you're fist-pumping right now watching Alex squirm, let me hear it in the comments. Type karma if you're ready for the grand finale. Because what happens next? It's the kind of justice that leaves everyone speechless. The rent due date came and went. No payment. Not even a partial wire. Carla texted me on day 6. Late fee now at $7,500 and climbing. They've gone radio silent. Do we start formal eviction proceedings? I stared at the message for a long minute, then typed back. Give them until the end of the week. Then yes, file the paperwork. I wasn't being cruel. I was following the exact legal process any landlord would. But knowing it was Alex and Emily on the receiving end made it feel like poetry. 2 days later, my assistant buzzed again. Miss Carter, there's an Emily Harrington here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. I smoothed my expression, pressed the intercom. Send her in. Emily walked into my office looking nothing like the polished Instagram queen I was used to seeing. No designer yoga outfit today, just jeans, a simple sweater, hair in a messy bun, eyes red-rimmed like she'd been crying. She carried a thick envelope in trembling hands. Zoe, she started, voice shaky. Thank you for seeing me without notice. I gestured to the chair opposite my desk. Of course, please sit. She did, clutching the envelope like a lifeline. I know about the affair. The words tumbled out fast. The other women, the hotels, the lies. I found the photos and credit card statements myself after Alex started acting strange. He admitted everything when I confronted him. I stayed quiet, letting her talk. I ended it, she continued, eyes filling. Called off the wedding. My parents are furious. They're cutting him off completely. No more trust fund access. No more company credit card. He has nothing, Zoe. Nothing! She laughed bitterly. Turns out the big app launch he kept promising was all smoke. He never even finished the prototype. I was bankrolling a fantasy. I nodded slowly. I'm sorry you're going through that. Are you, though? A tiny voice in my head whispered. I ignored it. Emily leaned forward. The penthouse? We can't pay the back rent or the new rate. We're moving out next week. Most of the furniture is rented anyway. She slid the envelope across the desk. This is the keys, the garage fobs, the access cards. I had the place professionally cleaned already, and… She hesitated, cheeks flushing. There's a check inside for the prorated days we've stayed this month. It's all we have left in the joint account. I didn't touch the envelope yet. Thank you for handling this so gracefully. She gave a sad smile. I actually came to ask you for one favor. Not for me, for the guests. We sent out cancellation notices for the wedding, but some vendors are non-refundable. I'm eating those costs, but if there's any way you could not pursue the full late fees or back rent? I know it's a lot to ask after everything. I finally opened the envelope. Inside were the keys, the cards, and a check for $12,400, exactly half a month at the new rate. Her name was the only one on the account now. Alex's had apparently been removed. I looked up at her. Emily, I'm going to waive the late fees and accept this as settlement in full for the remaining lease term. Her eyes widened. Really? Zoe, thank you. You didn't have to do that. I shrugged lightly. You're not the one who hurt me, and you're handling a bad situation with dignity. That matters. She stood, smoothing her sweater. I judged you before I ever met you. Alex told me you were clingy, jealous, holding him back. I believed him because it made it easier to justify what we did. I'm sorry for my part in your pain. The apology hung in the air, sincere and raw. I nodded. I accept that. I hope you heal from this faster than I did. She left quietly, shoulders a little straighter than when she'd arrived. That same afternoon, I got a frantic string of texts from Alex's old number. Zoe, please pick up. Emily left me. She took everything. I have nowhere to go. Can I crash at your place just for a few weeks? I swear I'll figure something out. I'm sorry for everything. You were always the better person. Please. I read them once, felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just emptiness. Then I blocked the number. Carla's team took possession of the penthouse the following week. The cleaners reported it was spotless. Emily hadn't lied. But the walkthrough revealed little details that made me smile. Monogrammed towels with A&E tossed in a donation pile. Half-empty bottles of Alex's favorite cologne left in the bathroom cabinet. A stack of wedding magazines in the recycling. All traces of their dream life, abandoned. I listed the unit for the renovated rate. $28,000 now that upgrades were complete, and at least in 3 days, to a lovely tech executive couple who paid 6 months up front. The building was thriving. My entire portfolio was thriving. A month later, I ran into Alex by pure accident at a coffee shop near my old apartment, the one where we'd met. He was in line ahead of me, wearing wrinkled clothes, hair too long, paying with crumpled singles for a small black coffee. No watch, no designer sneakers. He looked small. When he turned and saw me, his face crumpled. Zoe. Alex. He glanced around like he was afraid someone might recognize him. I moved back in with my parents, in the basement. I'm driving for Uber to pay off some debts. He tried for a sheepish smile. Karma, right? I stepped past him to order my latte. Oat milk, extra shot, no rush. Something like that. He lowered his voice. I messed up. I know that now. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away for nothing. I met his eyes calmly. You didn't throw it away for nothing, Alex. You threw it away for an illusion. And illusions are expensive. The barista called his name. He grabbed his coffee, mumbled, "Take care," and shuffled out. I watched him go, feeling no triumph, no bitterness, just peace. Because the truth is, the best revenge wasn't raising the rent or watching him lose everything. It was realizing I never needed him in the first place. It was building a life so full and rich that his betrayal became nothing more than a chapter I flipped past. And oh, what a beautiful life it was becoming. We're almost at the end, guys. One more part. The sweetest karma wrap-up and where Zoe is now. If you've been screaming, "Yes, Queen," through this whole story, comment your favorite moment below and tell me which part made you cheer the loudest. I read them all, and they honestly make my day. 2 years have passed since that coffee shop run-in with Alex, and honestly, sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago. Like the heartbroken Zoe who cried over cold pasta belonged to someone else entirely. Because the woman I am now? She's unstoppable. After Alex and Emily vacated the penthouse, I didn't just sit on my inheritance, I multiplied it. With the help of my incredible team, Carla, my financial advisor Marcus, and a sharp real estate attorney, I expanded the portfolio. We sold a few underperforming buildings at the peak of the market, then reinvested in up-and-coming neighborhoods. I took courses in property development, got my broker's license, and even launched a small boutique firm focused on luxury rentals with a twist. Every building now has affordable units set aside for single moms, teachers, nurses, people like my mom and grandma used to be. It's my way of paying forward the quiet generosity grandma showed the world. The money grew, sure. Last year the portfolio crossed $30 million in value, and the monthly cash flow is more than enough to live comfortably without ever touching principal. But the real wealth? It's in the freedom. I travel when I want. Italy last summer, Japan in the fall. I bought a little lake house up in Wisconsin for weekends, the kind of place with a screened porch and fireflies. Mom moved into a beautiful condo downtown, paid off, no mortgage, close enough for Sunday dinners but with her own space. She's dating a sweet retired firefighter now, and seeing her happy heals something deep in me. And love? Yeah, that found me when I least expected it. His name is Ryan. We met at a real estate conference about a year after the Penthouse drama. He's a commercial architect, tall, quiet, with kind hazel eyes and a laugh that makes my knees weak. No flashy Instagram life, no gold-digging vibes, just steady, genuine, and ridiculously good at designing rooftop gardens. Our first date was coffee that turned into a 4-hour walk along the lakefront. He listened when I told him my story, not the glossy version, the raw one. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the glow-up. He didn't flinch, just said, "You turned pain into power. That's rare." We took it slow. I was guarded, waiting for red flags that never appeared. Ryan supports my ambitions without needing to control them. He celebrates my wins like they're his own. When I closed my biggest deal yet, a mixed-use development in River North, he surprised me with a picnic on the construction site at sunset. Champagne in plastic cups, takeout tacos, and a little sign that read, "Proud of you, boss lady." I cried happy tears that night. We got engaged 6 months ago. Nothing extravagant. A weekend in Door County, proposal on a quiet beach at sunrise, with my grandma's vintage ring that Mom gave me. The wedding is next spring, small and intimate, only the people who truly matter. Emily's apology taught me something. Grace doesn't mean weakness. So, when the save the dates went out, I didn't obsess over who might see them. I just focused on the life I was building. Speaking of Emily, she's doing okay, from what I hear through the grapevine. After the breakup, she took a step back from the socialite scene, went to therapy, and started working for her family's charitable foundation full-time. Last I saw on LinkedIn, she'd been promoted to Director of Community Outreach. She looks genuinely happy in photos now, not performative, just peaceful. I sent her a congratulatory message when I saw the announcement. She replied with a simple, "Thank you, Zoe. Wishing you all the happiness you deserve." And I meant it when I said the same back. As for Alex, well, karma didn't let him off easy, but it wasn't cruel either. He bounced around a few sales jobs, paid off his debts slowly, and from what mutual acquaintances say, he's living in a modest studio apartment on the north side. He's dating someone new, A teacher, apparently. Low-key, no social media flaunting. Someone told me he stopped drinking, started going to therapy, even reached out to a couple old friends to apologize for how he acted back then. I hope it's real growth. I don't wish him misery, I just don't care anymore. He's a footnote. Sometimes people ask me if I ever think about lowering the boom harder, if I regret not dragging out the eviction or exposing his cheating publicly. The answer is no. The quiet, legal, unstoppable way it all unfolded was perfect. He lost the illusion he chased. Emily found her strength. And I? I gained everything I thought he'd taken from me. My confidence, my future, my worth. Here's the ironic twist that still makes me chuckle. Every month, like clockwork, a small direct deposit hits one of my accounts. It's an old auto payment Alex set up years ago when I was helping fund his startup. He'd linked it to his new checking account to pay me back bit by bit. $200 a month, no note attached. I never asked for it. He never misses it. I donate every penny to a women's shelter downtown. Turns out, even in his attempt to clear his conscience, he's still paying my bills. Life really does have a sense of humor. If you've been on this journey with me from the heartbreak to the triumph, thank you. Your comments, your own stories of rising above betrayal, they've reminded me I'm not alone, and neither are you. If you're in the thick of pain right now, hold on. The glow-up is coming. The peace is coming. And when it does, it'll feel like sunshine after the longest storm. One more part left, the final reflection and where I am today. Stay with me. It's the sweetest ending yet. And here we are, the final chapter of this wild ride. If you've stuck with me through the tears, the rage, the glow-up, and every delicious moment of karma, thank you. This story isn't just mine anymore. It's ours. So many of you have shared your own betrayals and triumphs in the comments, and reading them has reminded me over and over again why these stories matter. We rise, we heal, we win. Today, I'm 30 years old, sitting in the sunroom of the lake house Ryan and I bought together last year. It's a crisp January morning in Wisconsin. Snow on the ground, fireplace crackling, my rescue dog Luna snoring at my feet. Ryan's in the kitchen making coffee, humming off-key to whatever playlist he's obsessed with this week. In a few months, we'll get married, right here on the property, barefoot in the grass if the weather cooperates, surrounded by wildflowers and the people who've loved me through every version of myself. Life isn't perfect. I still have days when old insecurities whisper in my ear. I still overthink texts sometimes. Therapy is ongoing, not a one and done. But those moments are few and far between now. Most days I wake up grateful. Grateful for the pain that forced me to grow. Grateful for the inheritance that gave me choices. Grateful for the people who stayed, and the ones who showed me who they really were by leaving. I never publicly exposed Alex. I didn't need to. The quiet consequences were enough. Last I heard, he's still driving for rideshare, taking online courses in web development, trying to rebuild slowly. I hope he's learned. I hope he treats the next woman with the respect he didn't show me. And if he hasn't, that's on him now, not me. Emily sent me a wedding invitation last year. She's marrying a pediatrician she met through her foundation work. Simple ceremony, charity donation in lieu of gifts. I sent a beautiful crystal vase and a note. Wishing you the kind of love that lifts you up, never tears you down. She replied with a photo from their honeymoon, both of them laughing on a hike somewhere green and quiet. She looks free. I'm happy for her. As for me, I've poured my heart into giving back. The scholarship fund I started in Grandma's name has sent 12 young women from low-income families to college so far. Full rides, no debt. Every graduation photo they send me hangs in my office. I mentor at a local women's shelter, teaching financial literacy classes on Saturday mornings. And my company? We just broke ground on a new mixed-income building downtown. Luxury units funding deeply affordable ones. It's profitable and purposeful. The best kind of revenge is living so well that the past can't touch you. Sometimes, when I'm signing multi-million-dollar deals or speaking on panels about women in real estate, I think about that girl eating cereal from the box in her dark apartment, convinced she'd never be enough. If I could go back and talk to her, I'd wrap her in the biggest hug and say, "Hold on, the story isn't over. You're about to become the heroine, not the victim." And that's the real lesson, isn't it? Betrayal doesn't define us. How we rise does. So to every one of you who's been cheated on, dumped for better, humiliated, counted out, listen to me. Your worth was never up for debate. The people who couldn't see it, they're the ones who lost. You're going to build something beautiful from the ashes. You're going to love deeper, live bigger, shine brighter. And one day, you'll look back and realize the worst thing that ever happened to you was actually the beginning of the best. In the end, karma always finds its way. But the sweetest victory isn't watching someone else fall. It's standing tall in a life you built all on your own, stronger, wiser, kinder, and completely, unapologetically free. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. If this story gave you even a spark of hope, share it with someone who needs it. Drop your favorite moment or your own comeback story in the comments. I read every single one. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so we can keep celebrating these karma wins together. Strong women don't just survive betrayal. We rise above it and shine brighter than ever. See you in the next story.